Hi, this is Scott Norman, and we have another installment of the Gorillas in the Mist of the automotive industry. Today, we are talking with Emily. Is it Allgier? Is that correct? Okay.
Yep, Emily Allgaier.
Emily Allgaier. Well, I knew her as Emily Summer in school, and so she graduated in 2016, working for General Motors. A great student when she was here, and so I thought she'd be a good candidate to interview. So, Emily, let's start off by maybe talking about where you're from. Maybe in high school, did you have any automotive experience before coming to PSU? Why don't we start with that?
Yeah. So I grew up near a town called Pomona, Kansas, in northeastern Kansas. There was no automotive program in my high school. My interest really was started by my father. I just worked a lot on vehicles with him, as you know, most poor people have to do.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where kind of how I grew up, just in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, working on cars with my dad. And I came to PSU actually as a pre-med student because my community had kind of pushed me towards that field because I was, not to toot my own horn, but they called me the smart one. But that didn't really mean much. I was the smart one out of like 10 people, right? So I tried it out and hated it and decided I'd rather do the automotive program. And I came to talk to, I believe it was you and Randy Jones.
Okay.
My freshman year when I was trying to figure out if this is something I wanted to do, and you guys both convinced me it was a good career path, and you know it was right, it worked out. You know, it's something I really enjoy learning, and I've had a great time so far with the degree.
Okay, well, great. Yeah, it's kind of weird how a lot of us, myself included, you know, we got into automotive technology because we were high school students and we had to work on our own cars. We couldn't afford to have someone else work on them. And so we had to work on our own cars just to get them going, to be able to get somewhere. And so obviously
Right.
it then turns into a career. So that's kind of fun. While you're at PSU, could you tell me what area you were studying, and if you got any experience while you were a student? Like, did you do any summer internships or anything like that?
Yeah, so I landed on the service management and marketing emphasis because I thought it more aligned with what I was interested in doing. And then while I was in school, I obviously went to, there was, you know, a million career fairs when you're in the school of tech, sorry, KTC school, the technology school. They have them all the time. So I was constantly out there, you know, networking and getting out my resume. And I ended up with the Walsh Group for my first internship in Chicago. I was there for 3 months during the summer, and I was in the asset management group. So that meant I would, you know, make sure that job sites had the right amount of equipment, if we needed to purchase more equipment, manage gas cards, trucks, the decals for the equipment and trucks, all kinds of stuff regarding their equipment, which was a really great internship for me because it gave me like the professionalism experience that I really hadn't had prior to that. And then the next internship was at a dealership, which is Speedway CDJR in Kansas City.
Okay.
I was an advisor for a summer, which,
wow.
Yeah, it was intense, but I have to say that was also huge learning for me, and it both applied directly to my current role. So.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, it's kind of neat that because the Wash Group is a construction company. So you went and
Right.
you know tried to do some heavy equipment for a little bit in one summer, and then you went to a dealership and got some dealership experience. That's great.
Yeah.
And so then when you graduated in 2016, tell me what happened then.
Yeah, so I obviously got hired on with General Motors, which was a dream. And I honestly didn't know what I was going to be doing. I just knew where I was going until I got there. And I was a role called Field Service Manager, which actually doesn't exist anymore. But my role was under the Customer Activities Manager, and I was just trying to reduce buybacks and increase customer satisfaction.
Okay.
In general. And I did that through a lot of different projects that I did with my boss. And then as we went through some rearranging of the company, they let go of that role, and I moved into this district manager position, which I've been in since 2017. So coming up on 3 years.
Okay, and so then you're in a zone office or a business center is what we call it, correct? So,
So kind of
okay.
technically, yeah. So my leadership is in a regional office. I actually don't have an office, so I just go into the dealerships 4 out of 5 days of the week, and then I have a home office day typically. Obviously, right now with COVID-19, I'm just home. But
Okay.
typically, I have to visit each of my dealerships at least once a month, and then all of my other administrative duties.
Okay.
Obviously, I take care of on my.
Yeah. Okay. So, why don't you explain a little bit of a role of a district manager? Because sometimes the student doesn't necessarily understand what that actually entails.
Yeah, so they give you a area of dealerships, and it really depends on what the quantity might look like because it depends on brand and spacing and all kinds of things. But I have 15 dealerships, and I'm specific to Chevrolet. So each of my dealerships have at least Chevrolet, but some of them have other brands. And then I go in and I speak to the general manager, the dealer principal, parts manager, service manager, pretty much anyone that has to do with the fixed side of the business. So fixed is everything that's not sales or finance and insurance. and that can be anything from how to order parts, how to manage your inventory, customer satisfaction, training, processes improvement, so many topics covered into that. But anything that has to do with their core business and how to keep them successful and General Motors successful on the parts operations.
Wow. So yeah. So I bet you that they give you some type of a field car, right? They give you something you could drive around, right?
Yeah, I got a super sweet Impala right now.
Oh, wow. That's great.
It's
Yeah.
nice.
I can happily say that I got rid of my 2003 Yukon, and now I have a 2013 Suburban is what I bought
Moving up.
recently this year. So it's not a 15-year-old vehicle anymore. So
Hey, at least it was younger than you.
yeah, that's for sure. So yeah, there you go. Well, what type of advice would you give maybe that high school student, maybe very similar to yourself, not sure what they want to do, thinking about automotive technology? What type of advice could you give them?
Yeah, so I actually spent some time to think about that question. And I think that the number one thing is you have to make sure that you love it. So if you have, just a little bit of passion for the industry, might be able to stay in it for a couple of years, but it is fast moving and there's a lot of stuff all the time happening. You have to keep up with it. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you truly love what you're doing. So that's my number one thing is you have to make sure that this is something that you're going to love and you're going to continue to love. And then the second piece is know what type of automotive degree you'd like to get, whether that be the 2 or the 4 year, because a lot of my friends mistakenly got the 4 year and really their dream in their head was, under the hood of a vehicle or tractor or what have you. And so the 4 year degree, that really wasn't what they were needing out of life. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I really had to think about what does your vision entail in the automotive industry? Do you want to be more of a idea man? Do you want to drive numbers and push things in the right direction, or do you want to be more like in the trenches? And that's really what you have to think about before you decide which degree path you want to go down. And if you're unsure, I say start with the 2 year, try that out, and then add the 2 + 2.
Yeah, well,
And then
yeah.
And then just the last thing I think I would have to say is don't get bummed out if you don't like your first role. There's so many different roles, and within the first company you choose, I'm sure there's millions that you can explore there, but also outside of that company. There's not just the major automotive manufacturers. We have major insurance companies, and we have the heavy duty equipment. There's so many different paths you can go down. So if you don't like the first thing that you do right out of college, don't think you need to change your career path. Just start thinking about, what are other roles within this industry that might also work for me.
Yeah, that's real good advice. I always tell students, your first role is the entry-level job that typically no one wants to do. So you have to earn your dues and do that entry-level job, and then you get bumped up to different jobs throughout your career. So very rarely will someone stay in the same job for very long, their first entry-level job, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Well, great, Emily. I'm super excited that things are going great for you, and with the GM and everything. You know, one of our star students here, and I want to thank you very much for this interview and trying to share your experience to the future leaders of the automotive area. And so, this is Scott Norman with Emily, and we're signing off. And you have a good day. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks.